This is life in the 1900s newspapers. This video is a special. We're not going to read newspapers. We're going to hear about everything in the life of flapper Clara Bow. She was the famous It Girl. But how did the term it come about? It was by this woman, Eleanor Glynn, a writer, who wrote a story in a magazine called It.
I read in the paper the other day that it is really just the same thing as sex appeal. Now, is that really true?
Well, you see, if that were really the case, every good-looking woman in the entire world would have it. Whereas I suppose, if one counted, there's about 1 in every 10,000.
How does one tell this it in a person? Is it the way they talk or move or...
No, I should say, to give it the most exact description, it is something which emanates from the eyes.
Chance of a lifetime to see Hollywood, this city of magic, on a personally conducted crook tour. Well, get an eyeful of these, folks. That modest bungalow belongs to Mary Pickford. And this little shack over here keeps the California sunshine and the rain from beating down upon that little redhead, Clara Bow.
Clara Bow was born in 1905 and grew up in the tenement slums of Brooklyn. Clara Bow's unstable mother was appalled at the thought of her daughter being an actress. At the age of 16, with her father's permission, and without telling her mother, Clara tried for a contest in a moving picture magazine, which included as a prize a bit part in a movie. The young Clara won. When her mother did find out, she was appalled. She associated actresses with streetwalkers who wore heavy makeup and walked the streets. She told her daughter she'd rather see her dead than be an actress, and that night, Clara awoke with her mother hovering over her, holding a butcher knife. Her mother was then committed to an insane asylum. It's 1922, and this is Clara's first movie, but cinema audiences didn't get to see her because her scene was cut. This is Clara's second film, called Down to the Sea in Ships. She plays a stowaway on a ship. In the movie Maytime, Clara made her Hollywood debut as a supporting actress.
Enormously expressive face, and she could tell you what she was thinking without speaking. Billy Wilder called it flesh impact. He said it's the ability of someone to appear three-dimensional in a two-dimensional medium like film, and he said the only people he ever saw who had that were Clara Bow and Marilyn Monroe. They made you feel like they were real, even though you were really just only watching a shadow on the screen.
She had developed all of these little skills and all of these wonderful expressions and these sidelong glances and she just sparkled on the screen, and she jumped off the screen. And of course, it was a time when personality was everything.
The thing about Clara is she just exuded not just personality. She had tremendous vitality and personality, but also a very natural sexuality. You couldn't muzzle her.
She's pretty. She has a quality about her that you just want to be with her.
In 1927, Clara Bow stars in the movie Wings, which has the distinction of being the very first movie to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. In the movie, Clara's character has a crush on the leading man, played by Buddy Rogers, but he thinks of her more as a pal. In the movie, he goes on a drunken bender in Paris, and she pretends to be a Paris lady of the night to get his attention.
Swam to little fishes and the mama fishes too. Swim, said the mama fishes, swim if you can. And they swam all over the dam, yeah. Boop, boop, didn't, doesn't, wasn't you who? Boop, boop, didn't, doesn't, wasn't you who? Boop, boop, didn't, doesn't, wasn't you who? And they swam all over the dam, yeah.
Down in the middle of the itty-bitty pool swam some little fishes and the mama fishes too. Swim, said the mama fishes, swim if you can. And they swam right over the dam. Boop, boop, didn't, done, bottom, choo. Boop, boop, didn't, done, bottom, choo. Boop, boop, didn't, done, bottom, choo. And they swam right over the dam.
We said the little fishes, here's a lot of fun. We'll swim in the sea till the day is done. So the three little fishes went out in the free, and they swam right out to the sea. Boop, boop, didn't, doesn't, wasn't you who? Boop, boop, didn't, doesn't, wasn't you who? Boop, boop, didn't, doesn't, wasn't you who? And they swam all over the dam, yeah.
popular in the 20s that she got a lot of fan mail and a lot of publicity, good and bad. There were a few scandals that showed up in the newspapers about Clara. And while we're on the subject of newspapers, check out my other videos where I read the actual words from vintage newspapers to you, enhanced with video clips like these. Clara Bow and her famous romances were very popular in the movie magazines of the day. Among other famous men of the time, she dated Gary Cooper and the comedian Eddie Cantor, and the writer of James Bond, Ian Fleming, and was engaged briefly with actor Gilbert Roland. It was reported that Clara Bow had an affair with a married man and paid off the wife.
Here she is paying off $30,000 to a married doctor's wife to keep her silent, and then losing $14,000 in a gambling spree. And even though both of those stories were slanted in her disfavor, and she was a lot more innocent than she appeared to be, the public disapproval about them was enormous, because it felt like, are you completely insensitive to what's going on in the world right now?
But there was some calm in the turmoil. After the many boyfriends and fiancés, Clara met someone on set who was to play a big part in her future.
Goodbye, baby. I know it's going to be tough on you, but I got to shove off now.
Goodbye, Eddie.
Clara Bow, who had so much misfortune in her life from her earliest years on, finally got lucky when she met Rex Bell, because they obviously loved each other, but more than that, he wanted to protect her and look after her. And she no longer felt that the only time she had value was when she was in front of a camera.
She was still a very young girl, and her youth was probably extended because she had no way to mature mentally, intellectually. She didn't have a therapist. She didn't have anyone to help explain to her what was happening to her. And thank God she had Rex Bell, you know, because he took care of her.
And at least Rex was now on the scene to support Clara when she was hit by yet another scandal. This time, a devastating fraud case involving her best friend and assistant, Daisy DeVoe.
And that's when the public really turned against her, because Daisy, under oath, told all of these lies about Clara Bow's, what the newspapers called her wild spending orgies, and then all of these men. And suddenly everything that she had been celebrated for in the 1920s, now in the early 1930s, she was being condemned for, because it didn't seem so funny or amusing anymore.
In 1931, a tabloid news sheet crossed the line. Salacious, vicious, and above all fabricated, the story would leave a permanent stain on Bow's reputation.
The Coast Reporter printed 4 issues that accused her, among other things, of bestiality, drug addiction, incest, lesbianism, gambling orgies, sexual orgies. The man was convicted in a federal court and sent to prison, but the damage was done. She had to read this, and when she read it, she threw up. And then she had another nervous breakdown, and that was when she had to leave Hollywood. She was only 25 years old.
I would like to be known as a serious actress and not as a it girl. And now here's a big surprise. I want you to meet the most gorgeous man in the world, Mr. Rex Bell, my husband. Hooray! Say hello, darling.
Hello, everybody.
I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, no food.
Clara and Rex were married for 34 years. And they had 2 children, both boys. Clara eventually retired from making movies and lived on a ranch in Nevada with her husband. Retiring from Hollywood, Clara Bow and her husband started the It Cafe.
There am I on the old settee. There is she sitting close to me. So I picks up my ukulele and I sings her a little song.
And here's a photo of the menu from the It Cafe. Just take a look at these 1937 prices.
Oh, when that feeling comes around, I know what to do to calm her down. Then she says, don't you want a pet? Oh, come on, get collegiate. So I picks up the ukulele and I sings her a little song.
Although we live on a cattle ranch in Nevada, we do have a soft spot in our hearts for our friends in Hollywood and Hollywood. We have considerable time to spend here, and we had to have some place to spend it and also a place to receive our friends.
Very good. And may I add that if I had more time, I'd tell you about my pet fox, pet hawks, lambs, cattle, 25 dogs, and etc. But I haven't the time, so please excuse.
One last time, Clara Bow makes the headlines when she passes away on September 27, 1965. Thank you for watching my special on Clara Bow. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. We'll end today with a little tip from Clara.
On the old settee, there is she sitting close to me. So I picks up my ukulele and I sings her a little song. She says, Daddy, I'm strong for you. Ain't there something that you can do? So I picks up my ukulele and I sings her a little song. Oh, when that feeling comes around,